Today we're doing a mini-series with the one and only Bo Hines. He is the executive director of the Presidential Working Group on Digital Assets. He works very closely with crypto and AI czar David Sachs in Washington, D.C. Bo is crafting crypto policy at the upper echelons of government. And Bo, thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's an exciting time for crypto.
Very
It's
exciting.
a very exciting time. Bo, real quick, for those who do not know you, how did you even get into this space? What were you doing before this? Do people ask you this?
They do. They ask me that, quite frequently at this point now. But, it's actually a funny story. When I was a freshman playing football at North Carolina State, I actually played in the Bitcoin Bowl. And this sparked my interest in cryptocurrency. And then, after that, I bought my first Bitcoin shortly thereafter the event. Became a pretty avid trader in this space with some of my brethren up at Yale, where I transferred after my time at NC State. And, I stayed involved just from a retail investment side. I ended up going to law school at Wake Forest, where I was able to study blockchain and internet law with Professor Hawk. It's a great plug for her. If you're at Wake Forest, take her courses. She's amazing. But I ended up becoming a general partner in a growth equity firm in Charlotte. At the same time I was running for Congress in 2022, I ended up losing my race by about a point. But in the grand scheme of things, I've just always loved the crypto community. I think it's amazing what this industry has been able to do really in the face of headwinds over the course of the last decade and a half, specifically under the authoritarian Biden regime in the last 4 years. I mean, this is an industry that's been attacked, beaten down, victims of lawfare in a way that no other industry has experienced. And I think that we have a very unique opportunity in time now to make monumental change as it relates to this space and deliver on the president's promises to welcome in the golden age for digital assets. And that's what we plan on doing.
I love that, Bo. And something we ask all our guests, and we're excited to have you on Crypto in America, is what does Crypto in America really mean for you?
Honestly, I think what it means is, institutional and streamlined mainstream adoption. I think that, with stablecoin legislation currently on the Hill, with the bipartisan vote we had out of Senate banking just this past week, I think it was 18-6. It shows that our colleagues, even on the other side of the aisle, recognize how important it is for the United States to lead the charge in digital technological advancement. And that's one thing that we're extremely keen on. We know the president is, and that's why he's so adamant about seeing these priorities through before August recess, which is what he made clear at the Crypto Summit last Friday. I mean, what we're doing in this space could truly revolutionize the way that the financial marketplace works. And I think that Americans should be really excited about that because it is a new age for digital assets in the United States. And we're going to make this the crypto capital of the planet.
So the crypto capital of the planet.
Yes.
We got to make that a soundbite.
Change from world to planet, but I think I like planet better.
The universe. Yeah, it's the planet.
I'm taking President Trump's comments. I think that
Is that
I think
what
he
President
phrases
Trump
it
says?
best. That is what President Trump says, and I know that he means it. I think what we've shown over the course of the last 8 weeks is that we're going to move quickly and expeditiously as it relates to this space. Obviously, with the president signing the SBR into law, that was a phenomenal day for the industry. But moreover, I mean, look at the actors at the SEC and CFTC, our partners over at Treasury. I mean, Hester's doing a phenomenal job over the SEC. Brian will be phenomenal for the industry over the CFTC. This is just a very exciting time. And these these interagency actors are going to continue to make changes. It makes our lives a lot easier because we're all singing from the same sheet of music right now. And I think that, everyone should be extremely optimistic about that.
In stablecoin legislation. And I think on stage with Kyle Samani just now, you said that could be on the president's desk within 2 months. What about market structure legislation? Can we get that done by the end of the year?
Well, first of all, I just want to thank our leadership in both chambers for everything they're doing as it relates to this space. I think one thing that might have been lost on many people was when they came out with the bicameral working group on digital assets on the Hill. I mean, that was a monumental day for this industry. I mean, their commitment to passing truly meaningful legislation as it relates to this space is an incredible opportunity for us. And I know that includes both stablecoins and market structure. The president made it very clear he wants to see both of those things on his desk before August recess. And he said that at the summit. So, our job is to act as partners with our colleagues up on the Hill to help usher in what really, truly will revolutionize the financial marketplace in the United States and globally for that matter. But I'm confident we can get both done based on the president's timeline and deliver, hopefully we have a big, beautiful Rose Garden ceremony, to usher in this golden age for the digital asset industry.
The golden age for digital assets. What does that really look like for you beyond maybe the August recess, end of 2025, and throughout this administration and beyond?
I think it's truly just leading the globe in terms of innovation in this space and allowing, actors to onshore that have been, brutally pushed off ashore over the course of the last few years. I think it welcomes in new retail investors that maybe don't understand the space quite well yet, but I'm sure they will as institutional adoption continues to occur. I think it means having the TradFi players finding what their role is in this marketplace and really just, mending the gap that exists between institutional banks and a lot of these digital asset firms. I think it's kind of comprised of all of those things.
I had this question to ask you at the White House Crypto Summit, and I didn't get to ask it, but I'm going to ask you now. You've mentioned, and I'm sure you've had this question before, budget neutral ways to potentially buy Bitcoin down the line. Can you give me an example of a budget neutral way you may be thinking of?
I mean, there's a lot of high IQ people working on this, and I will give you an
Okay.
example, but I say that only to say that there's been countless ideas over the course of the last week or so, and it's in a sense of how we can actually accomplish this. I'll actually point you to Senator Lummis's Bitcoin Act of 2025, in which she believes that we can identify the real true value of some of these gold certificates that are, basically, I think it's like $172 an ounce is what they're categorized at right now. And if we actually realize the gains on that, that would be a budget neutral way to acquire more Bitcoin. I mean, there's countless different ways you can do it. I know the Secretary of Treasury, Bessent, and the Secretary of Commerce with Howard Lutnick. I mean, they're going to come up with, these are smart people that understand this space really well. And as we convene as a working group, we'll flesh out the best ideas and we'll enact those ideas.
Gold. Theoretically, could you sell some of the gold in Fort Knox to buy Bitcoin?
Can we?
Is that possible?
Well, if it's budget neutral and doesn't cost the taxpayer a dime,
You're kind of exchanging one for the other.
we'll see whatever creative ideas that we can come up with. And, like I said, with all the interagency working group actors that will convene in these meetings, I mean, we're going to hear some tremendous ideas about how we could do it. I just don't want to box us in yet to what that actually looks like, because I want to be able to hear from everybody. And I think that's one thing that's different about this White House is we welcome in new ideas, innovative solutions, and it's no different the way that we're running our office.
What about other assets? I know we have Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Solana, Cardano that were considered and brought up, maybe a part of the stockpile, right? Are you guys considering other crypto assets? And with the ones that are in those five, what made you decide on those?
Well, first I'll just say the reason that we structured the SPR like we did is because Bitcoin is different. It's unique. It's a commodity, not a security. As David likes to say, it has the immaculate conception, meaning that there's no issuer. It has intrinsic stored value, and it's traditionally accepted stored value as well. And so, we wanted to make that distinction when we created Digital Assets National Stockpile along with the SBR. The reason that those five tokens were listed or mentioned is truly just based on market cap, the five largest market caps in this space. But for us, we still want to welcome and encourage innovation across many ecosystems in this space. And we understand that Bitcoin is the grandfather. We understand that it undergirds a lot of what's happening here. But that's not to say that, we don't welcome these other players to continue to innovate, build on the chain, and, create just new technology for Americans to interact with. I mean, we're extremely supportive of that. I think that's one reason why we wanted to mention the Digital Assets National Stockpile and create that as well.
And for founders in America, I feel like something you talked about in the beginning of this conversation is a lot of them felt chilling effect. They didn't want to be here. Maybe they felt that they needed to leave because of maybe past administrations, regulatory clampdowns, etc. What would be your advice to them if they were listening?
Welcome home. This is a new era for digital assets in the United States. Under President Trump's leadership, under David Sachs' leadership as AI and cryptos are, I mean, this is a completely new environment to operate within. And so, I'd say to the folks that went offshore, it's time to come back. It's time to start participating in the American economy and contributing to really our innovation and our success here in the United States as we continue to propel this industry forward.
Let's talk about your role, just quickly about your role as executive director. I know you talk to all the different agencies. You encompass the White House, the working group on digital assets. Tell us your day-to-day. How are you operating in that role?
Well, look, this is my first public sector role. And, coming from private industry, I'm very keen on the idea that, the folks that are living this, breathing this every day have a very good understanding and can help you articulate that to those that maybe don't interact with the space as much. So one thing that I've done is I've had countless industry meetings at this point with actors that are large and small. I have an open door policy. I think great ideas can come from anywhere, whether it's a startup or whether it's an institutional player. And so, with these countless meetings, I've really taken it upon myself to translate what we're hearing into something that's digestible and palatable and easy enough to understand for folks even inside of government that maybe don't interact with this as much as private sector folks do. And, we view our office as almost being an administrator between White House policy, industry, interagency, and what's happening on the Hill. We want to make sure that everyone's rowing in the same direction. And I think we've done a good job of that so far. So we just want to continue pounding that drum as these legislative priorities make their way through Congress.
What about the role of the SEC and Paul Atkins coming into it? A lot of people in crypto previously weren't a big fan of Gary Gensler, and now maybe we have someone that might be more crypto friendly. How do you kind of look at that relationship between your role, SEC, CFTC, and all the other agencies?
I mean, thus far, they've just been incredible to work with. I mean, like Hester Peirce over at the SEC is doing a fantastic job. Obviously, we're waiting on Paul's confirmation. He's extremely, pro crypto as well. Brian's going to be amazing for the industry over at the CFTC. And, I feel like we have the right actors. Again, it's like the perfect recipe for success for this space. And we have to capitalize on that and usher these changes in. A big part of that will be removing anything that undergirded Operation Choke Point 2.0, allowing institutions to start interacting with digital asset firms in a way they haven't been able to before. But these actors are already on the move. And look what Hester's done in the course of the last few weeks, whether it's throwing out lawsuits, whether it's making rule changes. She's going to continue to work on that stuff, and so are the other interagency actors as well.
We had Hester actually on the show, and we asked her if President Trump appointed her again, would she continue to stay on? You think he's going to appoint her again?
Well, I can't speculate on the president's decisions, but I'll say this. We're a huge fan of her work over there, and we're just really excited to be, interacting with her throughout this process. I mean, she's really a champion for the digital asset community, and she's extremely well respected by everyone in our building.
Can we expect another White House Crypto Summit 2.0?
I'll say this, we're devising exactly what that's going to look like. I mean, look, the EO that the president signed on day 3 gave us pretty, broad ability to receive outside input from industry. And so we can do this in really whatever format or fashion that we'd like. And we've kind of kicked around these ideas, not that I'm, boxed into this, but maybe doing sub-vertical summits in which we bring, industry actors in from different categories that can speak really, truly in-depthly to their space. We can have very, meaningful conversations as some of these legislative processes mature. But we'll see. We're really excited to welcome more industry folks back to the White House and, continue to push the ball
You've
forward.
been a busy guy.
Yeah. Last thing, Bo, out of everything we've talked about, is there anything else that you want people to listen or pay attention to that's going on in DC that you think is important right now?
I just say just pay attention to how the tides turned over the course of the last 8 weeks. And I think that you can expect that to continue. The president's been expeditious, not only with digital assets, but in every other facet of the administration. I think this has been the most transparent White House in decades. So, pay attention to what's going on there. We'll keep everyone informed. Like I said, the open door policy, we want to have as many conversations with folks in the media, to usher along our industry priorities. But, I would never take your eye off of what's happening over at 1600 Pennsylvania, because you never know what the president's going to do next. And, we're just thrilled under his leadership that the United States is back and taking charge, in every industry vertical, and digital assets is no different.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining, Bo.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.